कंपनी नंबर नहीं, कंपनी लोग होते
लोग
हैं,
होते हैं।
और जब
हाँ।
लोग खुश होते हैं तो नंबर ऑटोमेटिकली बढ़ने लगते. यू कैन आइदर मेक मनी थ्रू ब्रांड्स और यू कैन मेक मनी थ्रू फैंस.
Rohit Raj co-founded creative agency The Glitch and influencer marketing agency Chtrbox. He is also an angel investor and has invested in many startups. In this episode of Entrepreneur Talks, Rohit has shared some amazing stories like how Glitch got Hindustan Unilever as their client, how they marketed Narcos for Netflix in India, why does being right place at the right time plays a huge role in a startup success, why culture plays an important role in building a good team, as well as many other insights that you don't want to miss. If you are someone who wants to build a career or business in marketing and advertising, then definitely watch this episode till the end. Also, we are now available on all the major audio platforms, so just go and search Entrepreneur Talks by the Spotlight India and you will find the audio version of the podcast. So, without wasting any further time, Entrepreneur Talks with Rohit Raj starts in 3, 2, 1. In Varun's case, so Varun didn't knew that he wanted to do this. He just applied for SIMC. I am just reading his book only. Everything is out of syllabus. So he also mentioning that, and he's one of my favorite podcasters. So I heard this story a lot of time about how you guys started. You guys were going to name your going to name Glitch Jaiveru. Uh, so I just want to know, एडवर्टाइजिंग वर देयर इन योर माइंड कि बस यही करना है कि वो भी धीरे धीरे डेवलप हो उसके बाद पता चला कि यू स्टम्बल्ड अपॉन एडवर्टाइजिंग.
No, I don't think it, I didn't come out saying that I want to do advertising in general. I think if you're asking me from a glitch point of view, did we come out to start building our agency? No, we did, right? We were, and I think that's largely a good question, because anything you do, you're trying to find a problem and you're trying to see that if there is a problem, can we find a solution? And that's literally where it was. So advertising is not something that happened. My first job that I did, for example, was a Channel V, where I was in promos team. We were making fun, ads and promos and for Channel V.
Yeah.
The reason glitch happened is because Channel V one day decided to stop the kind of programming we were doing to talk about saying that, hey, this kind of programming, the audience that consumes this has moved to the internet. So for TV, we will now go to reality shows, etc. And somehow we liked that kind of program. So I'm like, Ari, if they can't show this on TV, who's going to show this? So then we said, so that was my problem statement, right? So can we, if everybody's gone to the internet, who's making this for the internet? Can we now go to the internet and build these pieces, these content pieces? So that was the problem. We went to solve for that through anything, and that's how Glitch came to be. So Glitch was not set out to be an ad agency. Glitch came out to solve the problem that there is an audience that has shifted from television to the internet, and the kind of content we used to consume on television or we grew up with, like I grew up with all of those fun, quirky niche things which used to come on MTV, whereas it had MTV and Channel V, which then became very reality TV. So I didn't want to watch that, right? Now, if I have to watch this, where do I watch it? I have to go to the internet. If I'm going to the internet, who's making this content? Can we be the first ones to do it? That's how it came to be. So every time, I mean, anything that I've done so far, it's not because, oh, I want to get into this field. It's primarily that, is there a problem? Can we solve it? Do we have a unique solve to it?
Right.
And we get there, and that's what it's been.
Right. So this is an entrepreneurial mindset. If we look at from a bird's eye view, this is the entrepreneurial mindset where if you see a problem and you are going to solve it. If अगर problem नहीं है तो फिर startup भी नहीं होगा उस field के अंदर. You and Varun both talked about being right place at the right time, and I also heard this from a lot of entrepreneurs that being at the right place at the right time plays a huge role in the success of a startup. Can you explain why importance of timing is a really important thing for any startup?
This word called luck is very frivolously thrown around, right? But I think there is a factor of that also that comes in. When I say it's not purely luck, but this whole right place, right time. I'll give you examples of this. now in our journey at Glitch, when we started, we were doing one kind of work.
Yeah.
We needed, we were building the kind of content that we were excited to build, etc. And how did we get the work? We got it through word of mouth. So it was mostly our own batchmates who are now in some companies offering us, hey, listen, why don't you come pitch for us business, etc. And that's how we started the piece. At one point, I remember that we once got a call from a friend of ours who was like, yeah, I freelance at this one company and they do designs for an event in the backdrop, etc. And they're asking me to do something which I don't have the time because I'm going to Goa. So will you guys be able to pick this up? No, and when you start off, there is no concept of no, right? So we were like, kar lenge. So I said, I'll do it. And it was, I happened to be, I think, a Diwali week or something of that sort. So said, yes, we'll do it. Went and he sent me the address of the company. It was called Encompass. Sat there, we heard the brief. We said, we make it. We made these beautiful designs, backdrops. That day, that event was being hosted by Roshan Abbas. He's at the event. He finished the event. He looks at those backdrops and he says, this has not been done by Encompass. Who's made these? Because they look very nice. So somebody said that, oh, there's some company called Glitch. So I want to meet these boys. Turns up, he comes, out of the blue, a meeting is set up to meet Roshan, who's not heard of us till then. He happens to be at this event, sees this thing, etc. We meet, we talk, he gets excited. And in a few months, he's like, listen, guys, I think there is something here and I want to be a part of this journey. And Roshan came and became a part of our journey. And now, how Roshan became a part of this journey could be attributed to the fact that this one boy who had if he didn't make that phone call to me, or if I had said, like, yeah, I don't want to do a backdrop, there is a possibility this way. So, right place, right time on that front. I'll give you more stories. Like Unilever, we were not an agency, right? We were a production house. We would do a lot of content, video content, etc. But only the advantage was we did video content with a tech angle to it. So it wasn't just, so YouTube should not be just a consuming platform for us, because then that's also TV. So early on, YouTube will let you do annotations, make widgets, program things, etc. So that was great. So we used to be the early adopters of this. So we did some work for Unilever through MTV, and it was for one particular campaign. Now we finished that thing, and if you ever go to the Unilever office in Bombay, it's a street, right? Okay. They're called the Unilever campus, and it's a street where there are a bunch of cafes where all the brand managers across the board are sitting. So word spreads that this campaign has done well, that Axe campaign. So somebody is like, "Are kisne kiya? Glitch nahi kiya." So in that conversation, there's one brand manager who's sitting there. He's like, he hears of this company called Glitch. We are walking through that street. He's like, "You guys are from Glitch, right?" He's like, "Are you an agency?" Was the question he asked me. We were not an agency, but we also don't know the fact that we didn't know how to say no, right? Right? Of course we are an agency. Okay, so we have a brand called Magnum ice cream we're launching. We've called for pitches from other agencies. Everybody has pitched, but a couple of people have told me that you should get Glitch also to talk, because of this thing. I don't have time. Can you pitch by tomorrow? And this is at 3 PM. He's asked us if we are an agency, which we were not, if we can pitch tomorrow in 24 hours. And we said, okay, we'll give it a shot. Now we have gone back to a company where there's Varun, there is me, and there are 20 others. None of us who have any agency experience. So we've never worked in an agency in our lives. We don't know how an agency functions, but we know how to sell a product. So we put together we worked that whole night. We put together a pitch, pitched, we won the pitch. And that is how Glitch became, from a production house, we switched to become an agency. We won the pitch. We did a great job there. We got 4 more plans. Today, I think Glitch handles Unilever is the largest portfolio. Like 70%, 80% of the Unilever brands sit with Glitch. So it's a funny story that a brand like Unilever made us an agency because we were technically a content production house.
Content production house. Yeah.
So coming back to your whole thing, it was the right place, right time. So I could have said no.
Yeah.
You could have said no, I'm going to move.
So, do you think this also helps that when your startup is young, when your company is very young, saying yes to the most of the things opens a door for many opportunities? Is that true?
See, you need to be very clear about what you want to do.
Okay.
And whether your startup is young or not, I honestly feel that the hustle should never stop. Right? This is a hustle, right? That we did. Whether you're young, old, unicorn, decacorn, whatever you want to call it, the hustle, the day the hustle stops now is when you slow down. So I don't think the hustle should stop. So do you say yes to everything? No, I don't. I'm not a fan of. I'm not saying that you should say yes to everything, but you should weigh the options out. Like for example, are you an agency? Is a question that. So this is an opportunity knocking for us to pivot to a, because production house तुम इतना ही रहोगे.
हाँ.
ठीक है, प्रोडक्शन हाउस इससे ऊपर नहीं जाएगा. क्या ठीक है, अभी नाउ योर नेक्स्ट स्टेप टू अ प्रोडक्शन हाउस इज एन एजेंसी. अगर आपको एजेंसी बनना है और कोई अगर अपॉर्चुनिटी दे रहा है, एंड दिस फेमस सेइंग, राइट, knock knock is never opportunity, because opportunity is only one knock. It's so this guy, if somebody is giving you an opportunity, quick, you have the entrepreneurial mindset is to process 15 scenarios to every opportunity and assume, is this an opportunity worth taking or not? However big the risk is. Right. Whether you've done it or not, sometimes you just say things which you've not done and figure it out. Jugaad ho jayega. Don't forget the jugaad, don't forget the hustle. That's in the larger scheme of things. So that's what I would go with.
Right. अभी मुझे स्टार्टिंग पे वापस जाना है. So when you guys decided that कि अभी ग्लिच चालू कर रहा है, ग्लिच नाम रख दिया, सब कुछ हो गया, then how did you guys land up your first client?
It's funny because see, the thing is also, like I said, when people say that pedigree of which college you went to and things like that, I am not sure if the education that you get in MBA colleges is going to matter as much as the peers or the friends you make in that segment, right? Your alumni, your friends. So what Simbi gave me, yes, I didn't learn advertising at all, right? I went into film week. So I'd have a certain education, but what it also gave me was a huge network. Some of my closest friends are still friends I made at Simbi, not anywhere else. And we are people who still hang out now. So when we started out, everybody is helpful to each other. So somebody just called us and said, "Ki like yaar, aisa ho raha hai, you want to come pitch?" And I remember Disney was an early client that we did work with. And because I was at Channel V and I used to freelance at that point in time. So there was a freelance opportunity I was anyway like doing with Disney. So somebody's called and said, Disney is looking for a company that can make quick promos for you. Do you guys want to come and pitch? Again, now the hustle culture here, right? Disney is a very big company. We are a company with two people, Varun and Rohit. Yeah. Now, if you go and sit across the table, you need to also come across like at least a 20-member team for them to also take you seriously. Right? So I remember going there, having this meeting, and when we finished the whole, okay, this is what we need, briefing is done, etc. Then they said, okay, what's your costing like? I'll be like, I don't want to be commenting on the costing. I'll get my finance team to call. Just the statement which said that I'll get the finance team to call it. There was no finance team. Finance team was Varun, who's sitting in the car outside waiting. But in their opinion, okay, the finance team will call us. So, hoga 20-30 logon ka company. So we walked out from there. We've gone in. Varun has made the call. Said, okay, here's the budget. And budget sheet is gone. We've pretended like we're a 15-member team with 4 or 5 people answering on the behalf of this. It's the jugaad culture, right? And it works.
Yes.
End of the day, what happens is the first gig you get, or you have one opportunity to. So if Disney opens the door, they give you one opportunity to go back to that. You do a kick-ass job, then they don't ask you any questions of 10-member team or 100-member team or you're koi heavy. As long as you're delivering work. So for them, but to get that first piece, we had to hustle a little bit, and this was that hustle that we brought in.
Right. So, this is a crazy story, and from this I want to ask you: do you believe in like fake it till you make it in the starting period? Did that help? वो help करता है fake it till you make it वाला थोड़ा formula starting में?
I see, the thing is, it's a statement that could go very wrong when you say it as fake it till you make it. It's See, the thing is, I'll tell you what, it's about packaging. I would I would
Right.
I would call it more from a packaging lens, but how you package yourself, that's technically what it is, right?
You're right.
If I put two biscuits in front of you which are exactly the same and one has a jazzier, nicer packaging, you tend to go towards that. So
Right.
where you don't make up with anything else, try to cover with something that the others don't bring to the table. Like, I'll give you an example. When we did our pitches, our pitch decks, we spent time to design our pitch decks to tell the story and make it look really nice. So we used to be very proud of the fact that we had great looking pitch decks, which meant that when a client called you for a pitch, whatever you are presenting, their concentration at least is on the fact that okay, these guys get the aesthetic, they get the design, they get the thing of it. So the deeper questions of how are you capable of handling this with a 15-member team, etc. Get resolved. We show them right up front. It's kind of visible to them that okay, these guys get design. They get, you make it look premium, etc. Right. So packaging, I would not say fake it till you make it. It's more about how you package and how you tell your own story. So I didn't fake it when I said that I'll get the finance team to send it. Technically, Varun was the finance, right? But if I said I will get Varun to send it, it meant one person. The minute I said I'll get finance to send it to you, which it's still, so it's about, see, the reason I'm very hesitant to say fake it till you make it is because today I work with a lot of startups in, either as an advisor, inventor, investor, or whatever, right? I don't come to me with metrics which are wrong. So don't come and tell me. So I don't fake your metrics because that people will call out. But is there tell me a story. So storytelling is very, very key in this whole thing. Don't fake it from that point of view. Is my advice.
Right. What are some of the things or learnings that you didn't expect it? कि यार ये तो सोचा ही था कि ये भी सीखना पड़ेगा, ऐसा कुछ था. जैसे कि मैं पॉडकास्टिंग कर रहा हूँ अभी, सो आई डिडंट न्यू कि ऑडियो मास्टरिंग का ऐसा कुछ होगा. मुझे लगा था कि कोई सॉफ्टवेयर होगा, वहां पे अच्छी तरीके से रिकॉर्ड हो जाएगा, ऐसा कैमरा सेटअप, लाइट सेटअप, ये सब पता नहीं था. But when I deep dive into it, I learn a lot about editing also, all those things. So what were some of those learnings that you didn't expect it when you deep dive into entrepreneurship in general?
So the thing is, first thing is that you need to know everything. Right? You need to know a little bit of everything. That's the thing. So I think an entrepreneur, there's that book called Range, which I keep recommending to a lot of people. So and every entrepreneur should read it because this whole jack of all trades and a master of none is a space that you have superficial knowledge about everything, and then you get experts to do the other part. That's what it is. So now in the world of advertising, because we've never worked in advertising, I'll tell you what the advantages were firstly. Because I know a lot of people have this question, right? So saying like, oh, I have not done this kind of a thing, so I should never do anything which is not in that space. I'm like, no, I have not worked in advertising in my life. Varun has never worked in advertising. When we set up an agency, because we didn't work in advertising, we set up the agency to solve for the problem that we had at hand. So we didn't have a regular structure for the agency. It was not servicing and copy as two separate divisions and so on and so forth. For us, we were like, okay, what is the audience needing today? The audience needs video at the center. And that's what so we centered video at the center of our agency and built things around it. Strategy is going to be very key. So, and strategy could not come from one department called strategy, right? It had to come across the board from both parties. So there would be, why can't a copywriter be strategic, right? So, and that's ingrained. So it was, that's how we structured ourselves. So when we were doing our first few hires, right? If we ever hired from a traditional agency, that person would come here and not understand anything. They would be like, kya ho raha hai? Because like this is not how we work. So when we struggled with some senior hires, because senior hires did not, I made my own PPT till the last day of making a pitch, because for me the thing was that now a senior hire is like, I've never made a PPT in my life. Because हम लोग सिर्फ strategy बोल के निकल जाते हैं. Like नहीं, यहाँ पे वो नहीं होता. So that became a thing. Data, which is a very, so it was, I think for us, if you ask me, the key learnings was hiring and training the right kind of people. also to understand a few things. Like, for example, in a traditional agency, you have a planning and a strategic team, right? You have a data team. Now, do we have the luxury as a startup to build different verticals like this, have like a VP data, VP strategy, etc.? We don't. So how do we now get everybody to start thinking data actively? And that was very important. How do you pull the right kind of data? Like, so when we were talking of, so I was telling you about the Unilever piece, right? So when we got called from Magnum Ice Cream, and Magnum Ice Cream wanted us to pitch. Now, when we came back, we were thinking of the pitch, right? Where do you launch ice cream first up? Which is the city that you should think of first? Your first thought goes to Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, right? That's standard. But it was funny because we are now ingrained to think strategically, ice cream क्या है? Ice cream कब खाते हो जब like बाहर गर्मी होती है ना? So which city is hot through the year? So when you go and do that, you turn out that Madras or Chennai, as you call it, is summer 12 months of the year. It's always hot.
Yes.
Now that is one great data point to have looked at. Then we go and look at it saying that, okay, but this ice cream is not a cheap ice cream, it's 100 rupees. Where do you go? Who has the capacity to spend this? So then you look at, your creative guy himself is looking for data points saying that which city in the country has the highest, liquid spending capacity. Again, turns out to be that Chennai did rank in that house. You're like, it was a very strategically thought out but creative answer to say that if you want to launch this, try Chennai as a test market, because you don't have to worry about launching an ice cream in June because it's going to be raining in half the city and it'll be cold somewhere else. Either it's always summer. People will always feel hot and they'll always eat. So now this ingrained thinking has to come in. And if I went to a traditional agency, first a strategic partner would call for data around ice creams. Who eats ice creams more, etc. Then there would be a strategic, I would break it. Then a planning team. We didn't have the luxury of time to do all this. And we didn't have the luxury of people to do it. So we had to crunch that together. So there were a lot of learnings like these that we got along the way. But my take on it is that because we were not from this industry, it's far easier. If you don't know the rules,
yes,
you don't know that you're breaking them.
Yes, exactly.
And sometimes you're breaking the rules, and then that's it. So that's the.
I was just going to tell that only, that when you don't know rules, you just don't know that you are breaking them, and sometimes less information is more can play a big role also. When you start something, अगर सब कुछ मालूम है ना, अगर बहुत ज्यादा मालूम है तो वो कर्ज भी बन जाता है आपके लिए. Because
वो जब आपको रूल्स बन जाता है ना, जब कोई आपको रूल समझा देता है तो डर बन जाता है कि ये रूल टूट रहा है. ठीक है, जब रूल पता ही नहीं है और तुम रूल तोड़ रहे हो तो वो डर निकल गया. एंड सडनली जब रूल तोड़ते हो तो देन यू गेट टू द न्यू डायमेंशन, राइट? So otherwise you're in the same, you will only be different from another person if you step out of the boxes that we are all bound in. So
true. 100%. Do you think location also plays a big role in success of a startup? Because I recently heard Anurag Kumar, the founder of TV app, and he said कि देखो हमारा ग्रोथ हुआ है ना इतना जल्दी, जो भी लास्ट 5-6 साल के बाद भी जहाँ पे कंपनीज बंद भी हुई, हमारे जितने कॉम्पिटिटर्स थे वो लार्जली उसकी वजह से हुआ. मेजर रीजन वो है, लोग उसको क्रेडिट नहीं देते कि हम लोग मुंबई बेस्ड है. हम लोग मुंबई बेस्ड है तो काम हमारा बहुत जल्दी हो जाता है, सब कुछ है, अवेलेबिलिटी बहुत मिल जाती है, टैलेंट भी बहुत अच्छा मिल जाता है हमें जो चाहिए होता है. सो डू यू थिंक कि पर्टिकुलरली फॉर मीडिया लाइक फर्म एंड अगर एडवर्टाइजिंग उसमें लाइक सिटीज लाइक मुंबई एंड ऑल्सो प्लेज अ बिग रोल? लाइक अगर टेक खोलना है तो अगर आप बैंगलोर में हो देन इट विल बी अ गेम चेंजर फॉर यू.
See, the thing is, if you'd asked me this question 2 years ago, I would have probably had a different answer. Today, like, does location play a role? There is, in terms of, like, I'll tell you what, if you're in the media and content entertainment industry, right? And if you're in Bombay, everything is like your neighbor will be somebody who's a filmmaker. you will run into more of these people, etc. So the access is far easier, right? But this is in a pre-pandemic situation. In the post-pandemic world today that we stay in, we're all a Zoom call away. I mean, I don't even know where you are sitting right now and having this conversation. You are running this. LinkedIn has shot, like made the world smaller. It doesn't matter if I'm in Singapore, if I'm in Geneva, if I'm in Delhi, right? You're still able to connect with a person. You can bring that person onto the podcast. From an advertising agency point of view, I feel the most creative, the best creative agency today in the country is Webchat. Let me, I will admit it straight up. I think a fab job of what they've done so far. They sit out of Bangalore. It's a whole different space. That's where they are headquartered there. So nothing stops you from doing, from being anywhere in the thing. Is location key to a few things? I'll give you example. Access is one thing that is there. In Bangalore, access to techies, access to VCs. It's like my coffee shop mein baithunga to, like you go to any third wave in Kormangla, Indranagar, every second table is some VC analyst sitting there, right? So for you to do a fundraise, it's your degrees of separation between you and the your VC is going to be 1 degree. Somebody in your circle will know somebody there. So what a location gives you access to is the degrees of separation. What the world, in the post-pandemic world, that is also shortening. So I know startups sitting out of Indore, which are doing a fab job, right? No two ways about it. Delhi has become this whole new startup hub, Gurgaon rather, which is killing it on that front. So I'm like, if you ask me, is location key? Location is key for some form of access, but is it? It's still, if you ask me the percentage of how much it would matter, it's still slightly on the higher scale than it should be. But it is still, it does matter, but not as much as it was earlier. But it does still have an advantage because end of the day, it's that, that 1 degree of separation is there in depending on where you are. Like आप Bombay में हो, tomorrow if you were in Bombay and you want to get Shah Rukh on your podcast, even Shah Rukh Khan is 1 degree of separation. You might know somebody who's working with an agency that is handling Shah Rukh, for example, right? And that jugaad. Whereas from LinkedIn, you will try to connect with the Shah Rukh and he will not accept your right. You have to find a person and you don't know the person. So that is the only thing. So I don't know what the right or the wrong answer to this is. Does location make a difference? But I feel that there are some cities or things which have a high, what do you call it? A high concentration of a certain kind of thing. Like Bangalore has a high concentration of VCs and tech. Bombay has a high concentration of media, entertainment, etc. Delhi is operationally, all operation-led startups are very so talent pool is easier to find, which is why it becomes a thing. So your startup is as successful as a team that you have. So your team building will be a thing.
Yeah. So I was just going to come on that front only. And then how did you guys build this good team? Like how did you hire your first important employees that went on to play a big role in the process of building a glitch? What are some of the things you would suggest to an entrepreneur who is just starting out for team building?
This word culture is a very loosely thrown around word, right? I feel it's very loosely used by a lot of us. But I feel that's going to be very crucial when you start off with building the right kind of culture attracts the right kind of people. So it's when we started, Varun and I had this conversation. What are we building? We're building a happiness. कुछ भी हो लोग खुश होंगे. So it's funny again. I come back to a Bollywood reference. In 2009, just before we started Glitch. This film had come out called Rocket Singh. And if the viewers here have not seen it, I strongly recommend it. I thought it was a great film, right?
Great film.
But and it had like these, at the end of it, there was a really nice monologue that Ranbir had, which kind of stuck with me then. And still, like, the fact that I still remember it that well is, he says, कंपनी नंबर नहीं, कंपनी लोग होते हैं, और जब लोग खुश होते हैं तो नंबर ऑटोमेटिकली बढ़ने लगते.
राइट.
So लेकिन आपको ये कभी दिखा नहीं, kind of, that's the line that he has, but which is very very true, right? So it's company लोग है, and that is what it is. So building a happy place जहाँ पे लोग खुश है आके काम करने के लिए, वो that was the agenda that we had. So when we said, why did we like going to work at Channel V? Because it was great fun. We loved the people we worked with, and it was a fun thing that when did we stop not wanting to go there? Is when it became boring. It became redundant. So we said, how do we keep reinventing that? And that's the key ask. What we realized is, it gets boring when you do the same thing over and over again. It gets boring when you stop innovating. So first day is exciting. If every Monday of yours looks different from the kind of work you do, people are excited to see ab kya challenge laoge. Okay? So let's not keep doing the same thing. It's very easy to fall into that rut. And the day there is a pattern to what you do, then you will be replaced by a robot, because then it's a very easy statement, right? So let's start reinventing, and that's what it works. So our first ever employee was a guy called Prashant, who joined us. He continued. He was with us for the longest time, went off to start something on his own, came back to Glitch, again went to join Apple, came back to Glitch. He was with us till as early as last year, before he bounced down to another startup. So it's been a journey, and he's been there for the longest time. And I remember he joined us as an intern for a project, and we had a blast shooting that project, because again, that time what happens is, from a video point of view, if you go to a production house, एक story है, हम वो story बताएंगे ना, वही करना, that's the thing. In our case, we went and pitched a whole thing where so I don't know if you've seen, now Netflix has come out with Ranveer Singh's that thing where you can choose what he does. So interactive video, right? We did an interactive video in 2009.
Oh wow!
Where it was where every scenario had to be shot in two lenses, because at some point, like, this guy would escape from his hand, and like, should he take the door or should he take the window? So depending on where the users clicked, the video would go. So it was like a short video game that we did. Now, for somebody who's come from college, who's only been trained to do, what do you call it, linear narratives, he suddenly saw this company was letting you do. He's like, I want a job here. And we were like, we are very young, we are very small. He's like, I don't care, I'll come. So the thing is exactly the same mindset Varun and I had, which we went to Channel V as opposed to going to programming at Z, because we thought this is where we would put our creative work. So that's the thing. And again, like I said, eventually it was a culture that was built there. It was a culture where everybody was friends with everybody. It was a happy place, and that was what it is. So culture is not a foosball table. That's what I keep saying, because startup na tum culture ke naam pe ek foosball table rakh do, wo nahi hota hai. Culture can be any. It is just that when people don't want to leave their work and go back home, and they're just like, "Arey, ho gaya, now I'll chill with the same people," etc. That's where culture got built. So it's the 0 to 1 journey is always exciting that way. And all of you are tackling a problem together. So
कि जब लोग बोले ना कि यार अरे ऑफिस कहाँ जाना है यार, अगर वो वाला एटीट्यूड नहीं है लोगों में, then something is right, something you have done right with the culture. Coming from culture point, like you guys have been in advertising industry. आप लोगों ने बहुत सारे campaigns भी ready किए हुए हैं, and in advertising the core thing is consumer behavior, consumer psychology. So like what are some of the things, and because एक इंडिया में मैंने किसी को तो सुना था अभी बोलते हुए कि in India there are different 20 countries, कि आप अलग अलग जाओगे, अलग अलग जगह पे अलग अलग लोग अलग तरीके से बिहेव करते हैं. So, like, what are some of the consumer behavioral point that you guys noticed in an Indian consumer? कि अलग अलग consumer behavior points क्या थे? ये बहुत broad question है, but I feel कि what are some of those things that you guys noticed?
I mean, for the longest time, I'll tell you what happened is that we were doing work which was work that was exciting us, right? Then which means that हम वो काम कर रहे थे जिससे हम खुश हो रहे हैं, जो हम जानते थे. Which so at some point we realized that we will end up getting boxed into a quirky agency which is doing these cool campaigns. But the thing is, cool campaigns on one side, the Bharat and the India are two different things, right? So we should never become frogs in the well is what happened. We've done that's when we started looking at the Bharat side of things, which technically, like you rightly said, it's the cultures are different across the length and the breadth of the country, right? If I go down south, the understanding, the reading thing versus when I go up north, the reading, etc. And I think one of our clients which we've experimented with this across the spectrum was with Netflix. So when Netflix came to the country, we were talking to us, like you, me, right? So our campaigns are very like out there, bold, making these statements, etc. Then we realized कि ये सब ठीक है. Now 199 rupee packets have come, where now Jio has come, and it has gone to the deep end of the web. How do we now make people resonate with this? So suddenly what happened was we literally had to break ourselves. The one team that was doing all these cool campaigns now broke itself into, there was a team that handled South, just looked at the South. And when I say South, I'm trying to say it in this thing, but there are 4 different regions there also. Or 5 different states there. And each of these states have their own cultures. We have to then bring that piece out. And if you look at cinema in general, Malayalam cinema versus Telugu cinema is drastically different. Telugu is full, massy, entertaining. This thing, Malayalam was cinema, like there were stories, very more concentrated on story. So how do you now talk to that audience in this language? How do you get them? Then how do you position an international show and things like that? I'll give you a cultural insight on a campaign basis. So when Narcos was coming, Narcos season 2 came to India. We were in charge to handle that. And we said, okay, we'll bring this. What is the show about? It's a show about drugs. अब मैं इंडिया में ड्रग्स कैसे बोलूं और शो अबाउट ड्रग्स को कैसे बेचूं? For you and I will get very excited saying, oh, let's go. But now tier 2 India, right? How do I get everybody to watch this? How do I convince my parents to watch a show on drugs? So then we went, that's when the consumer insight study happened. So we looked at it deeper and said, who's Pablo Escobar? What has he built? And if you look at it carefully, Pablo Escobar is an entrepreneur. Right? End of the day, he's a rags to riches story of an entrepreneur who found a problem and to solve it. We said, can we now package him as the entrepreneur? Because this is when Make in India was happening. The whole startup story was booming in India, etc. That was a cultural insight that we found, saying that if we position Narcos as a drug crime thriller, I don't know how many people will watch it. If you position this instead as the entrepreneur who's made it from rags to riches, there more people will watch it. So in India, the Narcos positioning was all about entrepreneurship. Look how he's like the thing. And that's the cultural insight that translated in this aspect.
Right.
So you have to be very sensitive to a lot of these things. It's not easy to say, here is a cultural insight for India as a whole. It is tough to do that. We have a theory saying, you know that demographic as a line which is used in advertising, SECA 18 to 24, etc. I think that demographic is dead. There is no demographic. It's now tribes. Now what we do is we now try to classify people in tribes, or I don't know if I'm culturally woke when I say tribes or but that's an easier way to say it. So when I say a tribe, I'll give you an example. If I take ice cream, or if I take Netflix, now ice cream, Netflix, any of these things, I'll be able to say, I enjoy it. My mom enjoys it. My dad enjoys it. I am not 18 to 24. My parents are not 18 to 24. So how do I say when an ice cream is coming out, why do they say that we'll talk to 18 to 24? You there is you are talking to a tribe of people who are in this demographic. So I putting them as SCCA. This is not how it works. You have to put them saying that, okay, here's a tribe of people who like so and so, so and so, so and so, so and so kind of things. And then, so if I put it from a taste point of view, like for example, we use the tribe mechanism of shows to classify people into for any brand. So if you are a person, like for example, if you are a person who likes Chef's Table, The Crown, so on and so on shows, then you fall under the bracket of brands like Louis Vuitton, slightly luxury brands, Nicobar, Good Earth, etc. But whereas if you like some slightly teeny bopper, younger, this thing, maybe Zara, H&M there for you. So I can break down any brand in the name of, by just classifying them into tribes of either the content they watch or something like that. So we have to do it that way, as opposed to saying, okay, H&M is coming to India, SCCA 18 to 24. नहीं, SCCA 18 to 24 कानपुर में बैठा है, उसके पास और पैसा है, like 100 times more disposable. So
yeah, this is very interesting. And from this, I just want to ask कि जब भी एक like अगर एक ब्रीफ आता है कोई भी कैंपेन के लिए, तो सबसे पहला स्टेप क्या होता है टू डिकोड इट कि ये ब्रीफ है, उसके ऊपर काम करना, तो उसके बाद वाला पहला स्टेप क्या होता है?
You know, actually the pehla step of a brief is to decode the brief, to break the brief down, to actually find the problem state.
Okay.
Like, for example, if somebody comes to you and says that I want to sell, the brief is that here is a chocolate to be marketed to. That's how the brief will be, right? We're a chocolate trying to get into this crowded chocolate category, and we want to talk to young adults of so-and-so age to so-and-so. The first step is to say that what are the young adults eating and why are they not using? That is the problem statement. So वो brief के अंदर पहले brief जो आता है client का, वो brief को पहले तोड़ के it's like how Michelangelo once said, right? They said, oh, how good are you with these sculptures? How do you do this? He said, I start with a piece of stone and I remove everything that you don't need from it. And that's what the sculpture becomes, right? He's not sculpting you. He's like, I take a stone, I remove all the parts I don't need, and that becomes what it becomes, the art. So with a brief, that's the first step. I think the first step is to look at the brief and literally break the brief down, saying what is it that we need to solve in this? Because the minute you know what you have to solve, then you will look at the problem from that lens. Because a lot of times, like these dishwashing soaps that come out, and I'll give you an example. For the longest time, you've seen dishwashing soaps ads that would say 100 nimbon ki shakti, something like that. And we would always ask ourselves that question when that came in, saying, 100 nimbon ki shakti ho sakti hai, lekin kar kya rahe? Okay, so when somebody asks that question, is when we realize that because it has 100 nimbus, it is faster. It cleans faster than anybody else. When it cleans faster than anybody else, what does it do? It saves you time.
Right.
So the brief now becomes that for us is not about selling 100 nimbu ki shakti, because you're telling something. Let me show you what you will do with it. So by using this soap, because it has 100 nimbus, you save 15 minutes every day. So can we start a 15-minute education course for you or a 15-minute content series for you? Because वो जो 15 मिनट तुम बचाए हो, that is your 15 minutes of me time. So in the deep parts of India where this is primarily, unfortunately, still being used mostly by women only, if by using this particular brand, I save 15 minutes time every day. I get that 15 minutes to myself as opposed to spending on the thing. What can I do with 15 minutes? Let the brand come and help you in that. So the answer is in the brief, a lot of times when you break the brief down to concentrate on what is it happen, what is happening, what is the actual problem.
Right.
Because if you are saying 100 nimbu ki shakti and if I'm saying 75 nimbu ki shakti, that housewife doesn't give a flying fuck
हाँ.
कि इसमें 25 नींबू कम है. लेकिन जब ये पता चला कि इसमें कम है इसलिए 5 मिनट ज्यादा लगेगा एक, और वो 5 मिनट से तुम क्या कर सकते हो, that makes
Right.
it.
You are highlighting a problem statement and then you are saying a solution. ये है solution इसका. Right.
Yeah.
True. So I just read your blog today in the morning, Creative Capital wala. So I just want to tell you what is Creative Capital, and can you just go deep dive into it and why it is important?
So the thing is, I was actually just writing about it from a point of view of what disruption needs to happen, right? What is version 3.0 for advertising in general?
Yes.
When I was looking at it, and I was looking at it from a point of view that I've seen one stage of the evolution. I've seen how advertising used to be. I've never worked in advertising before, so I don't know how it was. When we came, we were disruptors in the space at that point in time क्योंकि digital बढ़ा हो. आज मैं जहाँ खड़ा हूँ, जहाँ से मैं देख रहा हूँ, ये digital, e-com, all of this has given birth to newer hero brands that have come out, right? So Unilever, P&G, etc. have been there. The other older lots. Now there are this direct to consumer brands that are coming left, right, and center. And there are so many of those. At some point, कोई ना कोई टक्कर दे ही देगा. बोट ने बोस को हरा दिया. ठीक है, बोट ने बीट्स को हरा दिया, बोस ने बोट ने JBL को हरा दिया, हार्मन कार्डन को हरा दिया, सबको हरा दिया. लेकिन 6 साल पहले बोट था नहीं, किसी को पता भी नहीं था. ठीक है, ऐसे जब अगर बोट कर सकता है तो कल टूथपेस्ट में कोई करेगा, कोई चाय में करेगा, कोई सोप में करेगा. Now the thing is, what I was talking of is advertising में we are pandering right now to a point of view where we're working with the guys who are. So the thing is, end of the day, it's an expensive business also, right? Marketing is. So we also have to hire the kind of talent, etc. So we expect to get paid a certain kind of retailer. Now the bigger brands are able to afford you and take you. Now in a startups scenario, what I was seeing is that brand building for a lot of these startups start after Series B. After they've reached Series A, a lot of them. Because till then they're looking at product. But actually brand building, अगर तुम पहले दिन से शुरू करोगे, so it makes a big difference. So I was talking about it from a point of view saying that if I looked at advertising agencies' next evolution, could it be creative capital? So, and how can an advertising agency and a VC firm literally merge into each other? And that's what I was trying to figure from a point of view of creative capital, which technically meant that I will say you are starting a new brand. Okay. And I think your brand is very exciting and I want to be a part of it. Now, if you are looking to raise whatever, say a crore tomorrow for your brand to say. In that 1 crore that you're looking to raise, you're going to spend 40 lakhs of that into marketing, right?
Marketing,
I am turning around and saying, I as an agency will come and I'm not giving you the 40 lakhs. I will give you 40 lakhs. I will give you 60 lakhs worth of brand building, marketing efforts from my end, right? And instead, I will take that percentage stake in your company. Let's assume that you're giving that 1 crore out for 21% stake. I will take 30% stake at, 7% stake for this. Now, what happens is I am invested in your business as an agency. For me, your growth will mean I grow. So now we are partners. Now I'm not about timesheets. I'm not about loading costs onto you and things. For me, it is now your success is my success. So tomorrow, if I did, say, for example, 5 years ago, if we did this with board, and if I had sat on whatever 6-7%, and I'm not saying I will do it for free for life. I'm saying that I will help you with this to grow from your zero scale to get product to market and product market fit. for you to raise Series A. When you raise your Series A, you can start paying me a discounted fee. When you
Huh.
raise Series B, you start paying me a full fee.
Huh.
When you go to IPO, by the time you go to IPO, I own that stake also. So there is a win-win for both. So I said, maybe is there a way for an agency to now evolve by looking at the VC model and saying that, because otherwise what is happening is we are ignoring the small guys can't work with us
Huh.
because
Huh.
we are too big for them,
Big for
and
them.
but that small guy will become very big very fast,
Yeah.
and we
True.
miss the boat at that point. So then instead of going knocking, then can we knock earlier? Was the thing. Currently, there are a few people who are already doing this and doing a good job of this.
Okay.
Spring Capital, I think, is doing something similar. Uh,
Right.
so and there are a couple of others who are trying this as well, from where I know.
Right. Right. So, and now I want to talk about like in Chatterbox, it was an influencer marketing, agency. So, what do you think? What are some of the changes coming in this influencer marketing scene? Like, what is going to change? Some of the things that are going to change in creator economy or influencer space, according to you, in coming years?
So the thing is, I'll tell you why Chatterbox came to be, right? Early on, this Chatterbox started in 2015.
50.
2015 the idea came from a point of view because we were doing a campaign for Pepsi and we were doing a campaign for Prill in Bombay and Delhi. The influencer list that came to us were two Excel sheets and both almost looked like the same. So जो Pepsi के लिए influencer और इसका भी same है, तो we were like कुछ problem है इसमें. So we said, can we use technology to understand who is relevant in what category? So relevance, resonance, reach in what category? Can we use tech to figure that out? And that's how it was. That was the core idea, and that's how Chatterbox was, and that was a platform that we built. And the whole answer, the question was that why should a creator, somebody who has 10 million followers, only be a creator? Why can't I be an influencer? I only have 2,000 followers on my Instagram, but I can tell you in sure, like for example, that if I recommend a restaurant of my 2,000 followers, 20 of them will go and try it out for sure. So what we realized is that the smaller micro guys were having the higher impact on conversions. So, and that is the problem we went to tackle, saying that ये एक होता है distribution का, ठीक है, जो which is what a lot of influencers are being used for, which is to distribute and talk about the thing. But end of the day, distribution of content से क्या होगा अगर conversion नहीं हो रहा है. So distribution meets conversion is very, very important. Is what we were looking at, and we were building from that point of view. Today, the ecosystem is also changed, right? In terms of that time, the influencers were limited. Today, the reach into this, we really discount what Jio has done to the country. Because Jio has given the reach that it has brought in, and I think our internet penetration in India is unmatched by anybody else, and the kind of content being consumed and the kind of content being produced is unmatched, right? We're actually, why TikTok has been hurt the most by leaving this place, because for them, India was their second biggest market. Like, that's the kind of reach that they had, right? Why is Instagram and YouTube Shorts and everybody putting so much money in India? It's because of this. So everybody is a creator, and at the day, they all now, I think the thing is to leverage what they have next. What's next for those creators? So earlier it was them associating with brands. Now they can see them launching their own brands, white labeling, and getting into that space. So this evolution is there. It is happening. I can see it across the spectrum, different, all kinds of people, right? Talking, so just from a finance category of influencers, I can just, like, there used to be one earlier, now there are like a dime a dozen. So so that's, I can see a huge evolution that could keep happening.
Yes. So like there is a lot of changes are coming in monetization. People are building their own monetization processes. They are not depending on brands now. So many creators are right now, because brands में अब जो लोगों का मेन कंप्लेंट रहता है वही है कि इट विल आई एम रिलाइंग ऑन लाइक आउटसाइड मनी, और कोई बार मुझे ऐसा काम भी करना पड़ता है शायद से जहाँ पे मुझे पसंद नहीं आएगा वो ब्रांड, वो भी नहीं आएगा, बट द यू रिक्वायर मनी, यू रिक्वायर द कैश फ्लो इन इट, so that's why they are building their, some of them are building their own distribution of like
See, you
कोई
can
courses
either
बना
make
रहा है.
money, yeah, you can either make money through brands or you can make money through fans.
Fans, yeah, yeah,
And so that's the equation. I think Anderson Horowitz, very in their fund, they very clearly spoke of it, right? So if you can find just 1,000 people who are
हाँ,
willing to pay
pay
$1,000 to you
1,000 to you, yeah,
for anything you do, that 1,000 people super fan club, right? That's it. That's all you need. You
हाँ,
made your money. 1,000 people paying $1,000
yeah,
is a million.
yes,
So
yes. हाँ, I recently heard this also about 1,000 super fans. कि 1,000 super fans बना लो, you only need 1,000 super fans in your uh, in your community. Yeah. So if you have to tell an aspiring entrepreneur or any young entrepreneur, uh, like what is that one fear they should completely remove from themselves?
it's the fear of failure, straight up. The fear of failure, the fear of. See, the thing is, अगर तुम नया बना रहे हो
हाँ,
तो गलतियां होंगी, गलतियों से सीखो, और क्योंकि अगर गलतियां नहीं हो रही है ना, तो तुम किसी और को कॉपी कर रहे हो.
हाँ,
Because a lot of times you try to do what somebody else has done so that you reduce the mistake, but what happens, you're not innovating then you are
हाँ,
not, there's nothing new. If you अगर
हम्म,
तुम नया कुछ बना रहे हो तो, I mean, look at SpaceX and Elon
हम्म,
Musk, right? He audacious goal of saying that I will make a reusable rocket. Now there's no reference point. He's making it. The first 7, 8 failed. They didn't see. The ninth will succeed, which is
yes,
okay. But the thing is, if you went with the fear of failure, what will happen is you will start copying things that have happened right. But what has happened right for one person need not be the right for you. So you have to make your own right.
right,
And to make your own right, you have to make your own mistakes. So
yeah,
the one
yeah,
fear you have to remove is the fear of failure. It's okay.
right,
You have to
true,
hold the fear of failure. The failure is a scar you should hold very, like people go get tattoos. I'm saying,
हाँ,
and there's some people get tattoos around the scar to hide the scar. I'm like, dude, flaunt your scar,
flaunt your scar,
flaunt your this thing, because that's where this thing is. Because nobody has taught you more than a failure would.
yeah,
We failed multiple times in our journey, right? At which we've made decisions where we failed. We've learned quickly. We've not done that again. But that failure has given us strength to,
yeah,
like, no B school in the world will train you for these things. And that's the best part. So for me, an entrepreneur, I hold them at, like, you can say you're from Harvard and you can say you're an entrepreneur. I think that person from the entrepreneur probably has a far deeper learn or understanding of real world.
yeah, true,
Yeah.
true, agreed. You have worked with startups in their early stages. What are some of the mistakes that you have seen that, कि वो एक, what are some of the pattern in mistakes that you have noticed in, founders who are like, who are just starting out or in early stage?
The thing is, uh, I work with a lot of these guys, a lot of these companies, because I genuinely like the 0 to 1 journey, right?
Yeah,
And now, what I have, and this for me is I don't look at it as an investment for my money's sake. It's more this is my B school. This is how I stay relevant. That's what I keep
yeah,
saying. So I built 2 companies here, but now I want to stay relevant. I want to know what are the new things that are happening, which is why I invest and work with these guys very closely to us. So are they is there mistakes that they're making, etc.? My job is not to sit there and correct their mistakes. And I learned this the hard way from Roshan, for example, when he came on board to mentor us. And he called out an iceberg. कि देखो ऐसा होगा, ऐसा होगा, ऐसा होगा. लेकिन तुम जाओ, you do this thing, and then so I will
right,
never but I've noticed some things where I do genuinely intervene and call it out is when people try to scale metrics vanity metrics, right? For the sake of vanity, because don't go chasing a vanity metric without actually hitting product market fit. I would
Right.
so I would always guide them. So that I've seen a mistake that a few founders go, which is saying कि like हम ना app downloads दिखा देते हैं इतना है, लेकिन पहले ये तो दिखाओ कि जो 500 लोगों ने ऑर्गेनिकली डाउनलोड किया वो यूज कर रहे हैं, वो सॉल्व नहीं करके हम पैसे खर्चा करके हम 12,000 ऐप डाउनलोड ला देंगे, बट कोई यूज नहीं कर रहा तो क्या फायदा होगा? सो एंड ऑफ द डे आई my advice, the mistake I see people doing is chasing stupid vanity metrics,
Right.
getting excited saying कि like यार अगर मेरा 12,000 डाउनलोड्स हो जाएगा मेरे को सीरीज ए मिल जाएगा ऑफ नाउ. Do you even need that series A? If you have made a great product, technically you don't have to spend that kind of money. People, you have to build that network effect, right? So getting excited by this, just looking around saying कि यार इसने इतना raise किया. When somebody raises money, please remember it's not, don't get excited and don't celebrate it, because raising money is like saying मुझे bank loan मिला. Last time when I bought a house, if I've got a bank loan of 5 crores, I'm not going and making a TV article, newspaper article saying that, oh, Rohit Raj raised 5 crores to buy a house. Dude, the story should be that I paid my loan back.
Yeah.
Right? So that, now the mistake that people fall is these stupid vanity metrics that you end up chasing, right? Whereas not chasing the right metrics that you need to, which is building the product and trying to hitting product market fit is so crucial. And a lot of people don't realize what metrics are important to hit PMF and instead chase the wrong metrics. That is the mistake I've seen a lot of young startups do.
Right. So. Right. And like coming to the last 3 questions of this podcast, the first one is, evolution needs eliminating. So like when you evolve, you need to also eliminate a lot of things. So like, of course, we have to learn a lot of things, during the course of our life. But what do you think? What are some of the things that you unlearned during this journey of your entrepreneurship, during this in this last 11, 12 years?
Well, that's a good question, actually. So it's, a few things is, when you become an entrepreneur, somebody gave me this advice a long time ago, and it didn't really ring home well at that point. Is that, like, if you want to build a company, stay in charge. If you want to build a legacy, make yourself redundant.
Right?
And when you say redundant as a word, is such a wrong word. Right? And then it's because you want to be in control of everything. But over time, and that's the big unlearning I had to do over time, saying that you don't need to do everything. Always hire people smarter than you. Always hire people smarter than you. Let people come fill in अगर तुम्हें आगे बढ़ना है ना, it's like, to put that one step forward, you need somebody to keep their foot where you left your foot behind, right? So if you want to go ahead in life, get somebody to fill your shoes so you can get into other shoes.
Right.
So that is one of the key pieces. It's not ingrained in us.
Yes.
Because especially if you work in a corporate environment before, where it's all about like, how do I make myself redundant? Like, अगर मैं ये इसको सिखा दूँ तो ये मेरा जगह ले लेगा. वो वाला, that fear that is there. I think it's very important for people to unlearn that key aspect. That's definitely something that I would have advised.
Right. And like, what do you think? What are some of the skills like an aspiring entrepreneur should develop? कि ये skills सीख लो, ये काम आएगा आगे जाके.
People skills. These are things that school and college don't teach us. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, great, Pythagoras theorem probably is very important, but equally important is people skills, empathy. These small little. So I'll give you 3 key pieces: right? People skills, empathy, and negotiating skills. Right. 3 key things which are so crucial. but not taught to us as kids, etc. But it's very, very, and it's very frowned, like negotiating. How There's this very, very, very good book which I strongly recommend to a lot of people. Um, it's called Never Split the Difference.
Yes.
Right?
Chris
It's
Voss, na?
written by yeah, it's written by the FBI negotiator.
Negotiator.
It's an excellent book. It's a whole strategy in terms, and I'm like, this is something they should teach in schools and college, at least in MBA college. So
Yeah.
like, it's important because it's so, because we are also a country where, I mean, there are different cultures, but there's one set of which we are very non-confrontational. So, okay, like a lot of times when you ask people, okay, what's your expectation of a salary? No, you tell us. Pehle aap. The minute you are assertive, then you are setting, okay, fair enough. This guy is expecting, move on, like that kind of a thing. People skills from a point of view of being able to manage people, right? And there are different people. Every person is different, and knowing how to work them, where you can be assertive when you need to, but you can also, you don't see I'm not a believer of that. You have to hold the whip to get things going, right? If you have to get people to respect you, and then that's my that if they respect you, they will get the work done. So I don't have to be yelling and shouting, and unfortunately for us, television shows, movies, etc., show these corporate bosses as, so you will see a billions, and you will see Ari Gold from Entourage and spewing stupid language, and that's, you don't have to be that. You can be the nice guy. So that is another key thing, on how to tackle people's needs and holding that empathy within, and which is be empathetic to situations, to surroundings, to people, etc. Very, very crucial, because again, like I said, from an entrepreneur point of view, the most important job for you is an HR job that you are doing, because end of the day, everything is on your team. The better your team, the more successful your company is. जब लोग खुश होते हैं, नंबर ऑटोमेटिकली बढ़ जाएगा.
हाँ, agree 100%. One advice you should give to aspiring entrepreneur, and one advice they should ignore. I know ki you don't like to give gyan too much, but can you please give one advice to our aspiring entrepreneurs, and one advice they should definitely ignore?
Well, the advice to an entrepreneur, okay, I'll tell you what, this was, I don't remember the exact words of it, but technically it meant come to work with your sleeves rolled up, right? Which means that you go to work ready to get your hands dirty. Don't sit there saying, and this is not necessarily first time founders, mostly second time founders I can see, or if you come from a certain position, I know this, you're used to it, right? So say if you come from a corporate thing, you're used to a EA, booking your tickets, blocking your calendar. You're never too big for your own shoes. Remember that. So don't think so. Stay humble for life. No, you can be a Decacon founder, and if the need comes, you should still be able to sit down and make that PPT if it comes. Right. You should be able to find the Google Analytics yourself if push comes to shove, because don't become too big for your own shoes is my key advice, no matter how big you or your company grows. So stay humble and keep your sleeves rolled up. It's my advice to a lot.
And what advice they should ignore?
Is this advice of vanity metrics. Was just stop. Don't let success get to your head again from a point, because you raised money. So that, and when tomorrow when you raise your capital, etc., don't call your PR team and say ki, like, abhi mujhe impact 40 under 40K list mein dalo. Because that's these vanity metrics and these this is, you are a hero as long as the spotlight is on you. One day it will go off. So don't take things for granted. So the advice to ignore is there is lots of those yes men or PR machinery
PR
around
machine,
you. Don't
yeah.
let that. Yeah.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
that's stay away from that.
Yeah. So thank you so much for doing this. I'm just putting it out there. I'm a big fan of you and Varun. And from the time I have discovered advertising is dead, I have been following you two guys from last 2-3 years now. Like then I went into a rabbit hole of how Glitch started. How did you guys make this company a very big company? Then I started listening to Varun more and more. Then from that advertising is that I was hearing a lot of Glitch story from his point of view. So yeah, it was great to have you on my podcast. You were one of the dream guests when I started this. So I started this around in 2019. In 2020, when lockdown happened, I made a list of people. So I made a list of people, and in that list I had a name of you and Varun. So thank you so much, Rohit. For
Thanks
coming
a
on.
lot, yeah. This has been a pleasure. I genuinely enjoyed this conversation because this is unlike. I love the flow that you had. It wasn't
Yeah.
the standard set of questions. This is more a conversation than anything else. So
Yeah.
I genuinely enjoyed it, and thank you for these kind words that you're throwing around.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, feels very good. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. So thank you so much, guys, for watching this episode. If you have enjoyed this, then please do drop a like, share this video with your friends, and please comment down 3 learnings of yours from this episode. And please, Rohit, can you just tell our audience to subscribe to our channel? The Spotlight India is the link.
Hey guys, this is the Spotlight India, and I think you should really subscribe to it because I am a subscriber of this channel. I genuinely have been catching up on all the podcasts that they've been putting out. So please subscribe ASAP.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rohit.